Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report for the channel, recorded on an exceptionally windy day. Hopefully the power actually holds up. Today in the 17 threat match, the Midnight Suns are going up against the Inhumans on the map you can see before you, which already gives away what missions are being played, I guess. But first let's look at the two teams. So here we have the 17th threat of Midnight Suns being led by Blade with his Bump of the Night affiliation bonus, joined by Moon Knight and Iron Fist. And then tagging along we have Venom and we have Luke Cage. Their tactics cards today are Siege of Darkness, Advanced R&D, Bats the Ghost Hound, Heroes for Hire, and the neutral card Lethal Protector. And with only one exception, it's a fairly typical Inhuman setup, being led by Black Bolt of course, with his wife Medusa, and then at the back we have Lockjaw and Crystal. But just to fill out the rest of the awkward 17 threat for them, we have, I was going to say X-23, it's not X-23, it's Honey Badger, it's the little sister. Honey Badger, for I think the second time on the channel only. We'll see how she does. She's just a cheap fill space basically. And their tactics cards are Inhuman Royal Family, Elemental Infusion, Jonathan the Unstoppable, Last Minute Save, and Medpack. So the 17th threat being played is the classic Montesi formula, the 3 books up the table on a line. The secure though is Superpowered Scoundrel from Sinister Syndicate, which is the 5, what are they classed as? Ambush tokens, that's the ones. 1 VP for each one held. If you're in contesting range of 1 and being attacked by someone out of it, you count as having cover for the purposes of the attack. That's about it really. You can only hold 1 book at a time, gives you access to Beam 3 6 dice energy, 1 VP for each of them as well. So a lot of potential points on the board here. 8 points a turn, distributed between them. With that, let's get set up. So deployment is done. The Midnight Suns are to your left and are taking first activation in battle round 1. The Inhumans are on your right. We're going to need to pan the camera a little bit to show where everyone is. Forgot to show where the objective tokens are, but books down the middle in a line, and then it's the 5 placements, including 1 in the centre as well for the Sinister Syndicate markers. So over here, husband and wife together here, Medusa and Black Bolt, and then over here, Crystal, Lockjaw, and Honey Badger. Can't see her. There she is there. Honey Badger are all together. So Lockjaw will get some extra power when he activates close to someone to pat him on the head. Venom, he doesn't get any extra power, but he's still sitting there to get a pat on the head. Next to Blade and Moon Knight, and then the friendos over here, Luke Cage and Danny, are just on this side of the flank. So with that, we are ready to jump into battle round 1. So the Midnight Suns game actually got started down here on this flank, with Luke Cage activating and doing a movement and a half to get to the further side of the closest ambush token to deployment. He's holding it and just staring down the enemy. For the Inhumans, it was Black Bolt himself that got the game started. One medium move wasn't quite enough to get around the corner to be within 1 of the closest books, so he had to use both movement actions to do that, and paid his 1 power to pick up that book. So that's the first of the 3 Montesi formulas collected. Moon Knight activated and moved up almost 2 full movements to get into within 1 of the central ambush token, paid his 1 power and picked up the Montesi formula there as well. And for his multiple personalities this turn, he rolled a skull, means there's literally no effect, doesn't do anything, so no bonus, no negative. And he is in a dangerous place, but he has stealth, so hopefully that will help protect him a little bit from any potential attacks coming in against him, for this turn at least. Honey Badger activated and she was down there next to Crystal and Lockjaw. She's moved up to claim the closest ambush token, basically just setting up for that turn 2 Jonathan play, probably, because he sits on an objective token for them while they can move in. We'll see though. Blade activated and kind of went diagonally. He moved medium that away once in order to get close to the Montesi formula that was here, paid 1 power, picked it up, then moved this way to get within 1 of the closest ambush token on this flank of the table. Well, it's basically a bunch of posturing and positioning in turn 1, as is often the case with Crisis Protocol. Medusa activated, moved just once, basically just sat on an activation just to hold that closest ambush token and to stay out of danger range of Blade and Venom. Back over this end of the table just to show that the Iron Fist activated, didn't even use his full 2 movements. He wants to help hold this ambush token for the first turn, staying next to Luke and just conserving that power to start building up for the big hit that will inevitably disappoint with the roll, as it always does. Lockjaw activated, moved forward small, which did just put him within range 1. There was some careful measuring here. It also meant that, because he started in headpat range, he got 3 power from Crystal telling him he's a good boy. He then spent 2 of it after moving as an action to teleport Black Bolt from where he was standing You pick an ally within 3, teleport them to within 3 of their position. Teleported Black Bolt into contesting the central ambush token with Moon Knight, so now that is a draw there. And with that, it's over to over to Venom for the final Midnight Suns activation, and then back over to Crystal for the final Inhuman one. The Midnight Suns did not want to lose that central ambush token, so Venom activated. He only moved small and did so twice to get towards that central ambush token within 1, so now he and Moon Knight are taking control of it. If Inhumans want it to be a draw, Crystal's going to have to try and get down there. I'm not sure 2 medium moves from where she is will do it, but let's see what she does. Never mind. Guess who forgot that Crystal moves long? So she activated, she moved twice, and now she is indeed contesting the central ambush token. No attacks thrown in turn 1, but yeah, that is it. We're going to scoring already. Wow. So a very simple round 1 that was setting up all the fights that are going to happen in turn 2, but we can quickly go over those points scored. The Midnight Suns hold 2 of the 3 Montesi formula for 2 victory points. They hold the 2 ambush tokens closest to their deployment zone on each flank for 2 more, putting them at 4 in total. The Inhumans have the other book for 1. They hold the 2 ambush tokens closest to their deployment zone for 2, meaning that they're at 3. So 4 plays 3. The middle token is a draw, so nobody scored that one. And the Midnight Suns retain first activation as we go into battle round 2. So Venom came in at the door swinging for battle round 2's start for the Midnight Suns. He did 2 symbiotic tendril attacks, 5 dice physical with a bleed regardless of whether or not damage is done, and that's good because of his first effort. Did it on Crystal, but her defense roll blocked the only damage he was doing. So she is bleeding, but no damage, but that's fine. It's almost like there's a vampire on the team or something that he's trying to facilitate. The other symbiotic tendrils was done on Black Bolt. That managed to do 1 damage, again not great, but did the bleed. And that 1 damage also let him use a total of 3 power for Clintar Rage to pick Black Bolt up and chuck him at the poor doggo, who whiffed with 3 blanks for his defense roll. So he took 3 damage from Blackgar whatever, being thrown into him. He's got a silly name. And Black Bolt himself took 1 damage from the throw as well. So although the symbiotic tendril attacks kind of fizzled, the throw ended up being pretty good. Crystal was the first activation for the Inhumans, spending her 2 power on Elemental Infusion, which is not in focus. It's getting there. Hang on, let's just go to the side with the text. That's the important side that needs to be in focus. There we go. Crystal can spend 2 to play this card until this character is dazed or until the end of the round. An enemy character within 3 of Crystal suffers damage from an allied effect. After it's resolved, you can make them gain Incinerate, Stun or Slow. That's going to stay next to her to remember that it's in play until she's either dazed or the end of a turn. She didn't have a great turn though. She started with a Volcanic Blast, Beam 3, so she caught Venom and Moon Knight. On a wild it does Incinerate, doesn't need to do damage. She managed to get the wild against Moon Knight, so he is incinerated, but he fully blocked the damage. Venom, despite only rolling 2 defense dice against an energy attack, also blocked all the damage. Her rolls are not great. She then followed up with the Hurricane Blast on Moon Knight to try and get a wild to push him off the point, and did not get the wild, also did not get any damage through. So Crystal didn't have a great turn either, honestly. Well, it didn't take long for Crystal to pay for not doing super well. Moon Knight activated for his multiple personalities, rolled a shield, just generated him 1 flat power, although that actually was important. Then he did his basic bow staff attack. It's only 4 dice physical, but he can reroll any defense attack dice. He did really well with it, did 3 damage to Crystal. That gave him enough power for his other action to do Avatar of Khonshu, 7 dice mystic attack with a push. You have to get placed with an optional push, and you have to get placed within 1 after resolving it, which is why he's moved slightly. And that spiked even harder, only needed to do 2 damage to daze her. It did 6, so Crystal is dazed, and the bleed that she had no longer matters, and nor does Elemental Infusion. This card just never works out, does it? Oh, hold your horses, somebody used the Time Stone. Last minute save, because Lockjaw actually has a bunch of power thanks to getting smacked and just getting head patted, so he played that. Unaffiliated reacted when another allied character within 3 of an allied Lockjaw would be KO'd. Oh, it's only KO'd, it's not dazed actually, so never mind, no, it can't be played right now. So it did actually happen as we saw, so Crystal got moved back then. Yeah, I actually didn't realise that was only on KOs. Huh. So after that rolling back and rolling forwards, we also forgot that Crystal was bleeding, so she would have been 1 extra damage. Not that that changes what happens in any way, shape or form, but it was forgotten that she would have taken 1 damage when her turn ended. Either way, Lockjaw activated, now that he can't use Lifesaver this turn. He gained 3 power for being patted on the head by Black Bolt. he immediately spent that on Interdimensional Bloodhound on Venom. You just pick an enemy model, and for the rest of this round, allied characters roll 1 extra attack dice against them. So, don't know what Venom did, it was Moon Knight that did all the work, but Venom is being targeted. Then he moved small this way because none of that was counting as an action. He then spent 2 on himself to teleport himself within 3, and put him, which is an action, which put himself down here on this ambush token. Danny the Iron Fist activated, he moved up medium, then initiated a range 3 flying kick, placed within one of the target after it's resolved regardless of what happens. 1 flat power generation on that as well. He went after Honey Badger, and she did really well with her defense roll. 3 defense dice, all of them successes, blocked the only damage he had coming in, so she took nothing. Medusa activated, moved up medium to contest the central ambush token and to get closer to Venom because that was her target. She braid bashed him, looking for a wild, or ideally a wild and a crit, is it, for flurry? Either way, the wild would have been a push. Didn't get any wilds, did manage to do 1 damage to Venom with that, which gave her enough power to do a hair flip. He's size 3 and it's a size 3 or less throw, so she chucked him into Blade. He takes 1 additional damage from that, so that's 2 in total on Venom. But Blade, 4 physical defense dice on the dodge roll, and he rolled nothing but failures. Well, blanks and whatnot, but you know, not the things he needed. He does not have enough power, did not have enough power to use his vampiric reflexes to get some rerolls, so he just took 4 damage. That's massively unlucky. Luke Cage activated and only really repositioned himself ever so slightly just to face where the danger might be coming from. So he didn't really do much with his turn. What he did do though was play Advanced R&D to distribute the 2 power he had been sitting on. So you can spend up to 5, distribute up to 1 per ally. He gave 1 to Blade and 1 to Iron Fist, just for future plans. Honey Badger was next up for the Inhumans. She didn't move for her turn, all she did was 2 claw slashes. 5 dice physical with bleed on a wild against Danny there. First one got through for 2 and bled him. The second one was fully blocked. Last activation of the turn for the Midnight Suns was Blade. It looks like he hasn't moved much. He actually did. He moved up medium to the centre here, and then he spent on Knight of the Damn Fear, 7 dice Mystic, bleed guaranteed. So it's used on someone who's bleeding, it would have given full rerolls. Sadly, didn't happen. He used it on Medusa, who managed to take 2 damage from it, which wasn't super great, and is automatically bled. It includes a free medium movement though, so that is why he immediately moved back to where he was. He wants to be out of range of Black Bolt, because that's him to activate now to end off the turn. And he's a little bit low health now, and he's not... He could have stayed over there, helped contest the middle. He would have healed 1 for and gained 1 power for Medusa being bled, but that would abandon this anyway. So he might as well hold his book and hold this point, was the line of thinking there. So Blackagar Boltagon, is that what it was? No matter how you cut it, his name sounds like a Pokemon. Anyway, he came around the corner to here, and he considered getting rid of his bleed, but instead did an energy bolt, range 4 maximum, 5 dice normally, up to 6 because he targeted Venom, and that's the blood scent this turn from Lockjaw. Managed to do 3 damage to him, gave him enough power to counter with so many snacks, opted not to. Holding on to it for next turn to hopefully do a big play, because they're going to retain first activation. But we can cover all that as we go into scoring. So at the end of Battle Round 2, the score gap has changed ever so slightly. The Midnight Suns still have 2 books for 2 victory points. They hold 2 of the ambush tokens, 1 there, 1 there. They gained 4 more, taking them to 8. And the Inhumans, they have the other book for 1. They hold this point and this ambush token for 2. So they gain 3 in total. The one over there is a draw between Iron Fist and Honey Badger. So they're 2 behind now. They're trailing slightly. I'm turning to see the scores just to remind myself. Yeah, they're at 6. So 8 plays 6. Midnight Suns retaining first activation as we go into round 3. Venom got the turn started by web snaring Medusa, pulling her in towards where he originally was, and then did We Are Venom, is that what it's called? Or yeah, I think it is. His big attack, where the damage done is healed on him. He did 3 to her and healed 3 damage as a result. Then he just did a basic attack, and that actually did better, because of course it did. It's Crisis Protocol. So I did 4, I only needed to do 2 more damage I believe, so Medusa is dazed. He then spent 1 for the Bump of the Night. Actually, could he use that? Because I don't think he's affiliated with them. Is it just any allied character? Yep, yeah, any allied character for Bump of the Night. So he moved within range 1 of his position, which when you have a big base is actually kind of worth it, which put him in controlling range of that ambush token. So to avoid getting the Iron Fist to the face, Honey Badger activated and wanted to take out Danny, and she managed it. She did one attack, her basic claw attack. It did 3 damage through, all said and done, even though he's counting blanks for how close he is to the attacker. More than enough to daze him. He had, actually no, that's exactly enough to daze him, but she had another action, which is being wasted because she wants to sit there. She can't really put Jonathan down because it disappears as soon as Danny's back up next turn. So she's just waiting there to try and kill him next turn. Oh man, Moon Knight activated, rolled a blank for his multiple personalities, which gave him 1 power again. And then he attacked Crystal with his basic bow staff, did 2 damage. That gave him enough power to unleash the Avatar of Khonshu again. And it spiked, did 5 damage, didn't even need to do that much. And unfortunately for Lockjaw, he is outside of range 3, so last minute save is not possible. Crystal is out of there. That is a threat off the table. That's an activation that hadn't even gone yet for this turn. Off the table. He's still incinerated and probably going to pay for what he just did, but that was a good result there for Moon Knight. Oh yeah, Black Bolt did indeed make Moon Knight pay pretty quick. Started with an energy bolt into his face for 2 damage, and then, well actually sorry, the first thing he did was use Medpack on himself just to try and retain control of the central ambush token there. Spent 2 to heal 3, so he's back to full health. Oh, although he's bleeding though, so he actually is not back at full health. He would have taken 1 at the end of his activation, haha! But he then did a Master Punch directly into Moon Knight's skull for 4 more damage, very much dazing him. Moon Knight was rolling 1 less defense dice throughout because he was incinerated. Unfortunately for Black Bolt, he had no power left after all that, and he's already holding a book anyway, so he can't hold 2. So the book that Moon Knight was holding has been dropped within 2 over there. Luke Cage could go grab it, so could Blade. We'll see, I guess, because if Luke Cage goes, then he's going to be abandoning one of the ambush tokens. Either way though, Black Bolt got his revenge, but he's still bleeding, so 1 damage. Well, forgot the Blade was already holding a book, so that kind of made the decision right there. Luke Cage moved up twice, in between both of the book and the ambush token, paid his 1 power he was sitting on to pick up the book. He is contesting, they're both on their healthy side though, so it's a draw there. It's over to Lockjaw now. I don't know if he's going to do anything, I guess we'll see in a second. So with no one to call him a good boy, Lockjaw actually just backed off a little bit. So he's just in the range 1 to be contesting / holding the ambush token there. It's almost like he's scared of a potential vampire rushing him down. And on that note, it's over to Blade to end off the turn. Well, Blade did not go after Lockjaw. He moved medium around Medusa because she has that weird role Angela has as well, where you can't put movement tools over it. It's so strange. Either way, moved around him. So Blade was placed right there. Then just did his basic Mystic Katana attack, and I totally forgot that Black Bolt has terrible Mystic Defense for some reason. Don't know enough about the character to tell. He's got 2 Mystic Defense. So 5 damage, 5 damage, 3 damage, I wish 5 damage. 3 damage through to him. It would have bled him if he wasn't already bleeding. Blade ending his turn within that distance of someone bleeding means he heals 1 and gains 1 power as well. Unfortunately though, he was the last activation of the turn, which means they're giving up first activation next turn, which could be important. But they're pretty well poised to do a pretty decent Siege of Darkness if they can get away with it. But let's see what the points are saying. So at the end of Battle Round 3, the Midnight Suns have still managed to be able to hold on to 2 of the books for 2 victory points. Thanks to Blade moving where he did, he and Luke are holding the central ambush token for 1. Venom is holding this one for 1 as well, so that's 2 more points gained there. Taking them to, as a cheat by looking at the scoreboard, 12. The Inhumans have the other book on Black Bolt for 1. They hold this ambush token, and Honey Badger holds that one over there because Iron Fist is dazed for 2 more, taking them to 9. So the Midnight Suns are still ahead. Everything to play for. This could be the final turn, certainly the decisive at 1. And the Inhumans have first activation. Let's see what happens. Well, there was a lot of umming and ahhing over which Inhuman character to activate. Went with Black Bolt in the end, although Honey Badger's probably going to take the Iron Fist to the face now. That's one thing to consider, but if Black Bolt hadn't activated, he would have been Sieged of Darknessed, which would have potentially done a lot of damage, and as it turns out, he probably made the right decision because he did a lot of damage. He did a Master Punch, that's the name of the one. He did a Master Punch on to Moon Knight. It spiked for 5 damage, it did 4 damage, but it has a built-in throw which he made use of to chuck him into Blade, 1 guaranteed damage. So he went from full health on his dazed side to 0. So that is Moon Knight off the table. Khonshu is very unhappy. Blade whiffed his dodge roll a little bit, took 2 damage as well. And then for his other action, he moved medium towards Lockjaw for a little bit of safety to potentially get teleported out of danger. And he took 1 damage because he is still bleeding. Oh, something that we didn't take into consideration there is Black Bolt had 4 damage on him, so when that bleed procced for 1 more, he actually dazed. He's only got 5 health on his healthy side. He becomes super chonky on his dazed side, and he gets access to a super dangerous attack. But yeah, only 5 health on his healthy side despite being a 5 threat character. He dazed, so he's dropped his book. It's been put over there, close to Venom, because there's no point being near Blade, because Blade's already got a book. So the Midnight Suns might be able to capitalise on that little misplay there. Blade activated, and he is a vampire who was sitting there with 10 power, so he had a lot to do. He ended up spending 8 instantly on doing 2 Night of the Vampires. It's not limited to once per turn. He did them both on Medusa. The first one didn't do great, to be honest, just 2 damage, but with the bleed. So once she had the bleed, full rerolls on the second one. That did 5. The Queen of the Royal Athlon family, whatever, doesn't matter, she died. So she's gone, and he then made use of the free medium move, because it's optional. He didn't do it on the first one, did it on the second. Moved medium, then spent 1 for Bump of the Night, and bumped himself range 1, which puts him in contesting / holding range of that back objective there. Now Honey Badger might be able to move down and get him with 1 attack, and I think he's only got 2 health left. He's only got 1 health left, so it is possible she'll get him. That's probably their best option given the situation on the table, but I guess we'll see. So Honey Badger did activate. She moved medium, and that put her just in range 2, because she's only got range 2 on her attacks. She spent 3 on Hamstring, mostly because if it gets a wild in the roll, she gets placed within medium, is it? Either way. She did get the wild, so that's why she's eventually all the way down here. It's contesting, because she's also still on her healthy side. The attack itself, though, didn't do any damage. Blade fully blocked it. So I don't think the Inhumans can stop the Midnight Suns getting to the victory now, because they've just got Lockjaw left. Luke Cage, Venom, Iron Fist, they're all sitting on objectives. So really they just need to sit there, because that would be 3. Well, Venom could go grab the book, I suppose. Yeah, that seems like there's no way to stop, like, Venom just going dupe, grab the book, walk backwards. He could get teleported off the point, actually, by Lockjaw, which would deny 1 point. I still don't think that... We'll have a look at the board and be back in a second. So looking at the options, Lockjaw's teleport does not work on enemies. It's himself or allied characters within 3, which would have been fun if he could just like walk up and then teleport Venom away from the safety of, or you know, holding that point, deny a point, but he can't even do that. So there's no way to stop the Midnight Suns from winning now, no matter what Lockjaw does. He's just going to stay there, and we're going to add up the final scores. So at the end of Battle Round 4, the points are as it stands. The Inhumans gain 1 from holding this ambush token right back here, taking them to 10. The Midnight Suns have all 3 books, so they get 3 points from that. They also hold 3 of the ambush stations, taking them above the 16 required to win to 18, I believe, in total. So they have passed the threshold and are today's winners. So just some quick final thoughts. I think that's probably the best the Midnight Suns have done on the channel. They haven't been seen that much. It seemed like the most effective list. We obviously was looking for like synergies between Venom and Blade. Venom dishing out the bleed, Blade taking advantage of it by healing and gaining more power, and then just spamming Night of the Damn Fears everywhere, which he kind of did. He only ever healed from someone bleeding once, but the little misplay of not realizing Black Bolt would get dazed by the bleed and not curing it. But if he hadn't done what he did, well, actually, yeah, he could have stayed down there, but then that would have just handed them the book when someone activated and punched him, because he only had 1 health left. So it's not that hard of a, or that massive of a feat to beat the Inhumans. They're not that great. They might be really near the bottom of the tier list now. The Guardians of the Galaxy are slightly buffed, but yeah, they're pretty far down there, I think. So I don't think Midnight Suns are particularly high up either, but they did better, and I think this was a good showing. And Bump of the Night was actually useful twice, which is stellar in and of itself. Works better with the big bases. I think Venom works well with them, even though he's not one of their characters. Anyway, I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching. I apologise for the delay in new videos. Been ill, so I had to postpone stuff, obviously. Wait until no chance of infection or just sounding horrible on camera. If you want to support what we do here, please do consider leaving a like, or if you want to go above and beyond, consider pressing the thanks button, becoming a channel member, or checking out the Patreon. It all helps and is reinvested in the channel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Oh, next time, it will definitely be the new Hydra releases. Maybe the Sentinels, maybe. Maybe. Definitely the new Hydra models though, so we'll get to see the new Red Skull in action, so look forward to that. Until then, ta-ta for now.